back to the Hodland Tees podcast, Bitcoin podcast for seekers. How you doing, Greg?
Well, we dodged a few tornadoes last night, so
we're getting it.
Still standing.
We're getting it. I don't know if you've heard, but South Georgia is on fire, big fire. And we got a little rain about 5 o'clock this morning in North Georgia, so I'm hoping some of that goes down there. Interesting that it's right where they're talking about putting one of those huge computer facilities. Kind of like Haiti, or no. That was Hawaii where they did that. Anyway, enough conspiracy stuff. Hey, have you ever wondered, is your money actually worth something? Did you ever wonder that?
Well, everybody assumes it is.
Absolutely.
And while it's still accepted, it has value.
You know, I hear more people all the time talking about, the dollar's not worth anything, and they're beginning to talk about depreciating assets and the dollar decreasing in value. You know, money feels normal, but we sure need to use a lot more of it. So today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk again briefly about solid money. What is it? What is hard money? Well, it isn't paper, as Greg's t-shirt says. Sound money is a tool. And really, that's all money is. It's just a tool. But it's being manipulated, and so we need to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about, and Greg's more of an expert in this than I am, the Fold app. It's a way that you can acquire Bitcoin slowly just by doing what you do every day. So we're gonna jump right in there. So we'll cover sound money, the principles behind sound money, the Fold app, and then give you kind of a verdict at the end. Let's begin with talking about what is money, what makes up money. When we talked about this last, we kind of ended with money is a moral issue, right? We talked about the morality behind money, that it's really about stewardship and trusting money.
I'm smiling because if anybody thinks that you're in this for the money, you just skipped your Hodland Tees intro.
Well, because I'm going to do the intro of Hodland Tees at the end.
Okay. That's
good. You're looking out for me. I appreciate that. So getting back to money, it's really what most people are feeling right now is wages aren't keeping up, savings are shrinking. This nagging feeling that something is off. The bridge into the Bitcoin is that money isn't just an economic concept; it's an ethical one. What are some of the examples you can think of how money is being mistreated right now?
Well, obviously it's being inflated away. And the funny thing is, for years, as you know, because you're one of the recipients, I have been passionate about trying to teach people about Bitcoin. And yet when we talk about inflation, I used to work in a union environment where you would sign a contract from anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and that was it. That's how much you earned for the entire contract. If any of my coworkers were told that they would take a 20% discount over that 5-year period and get paid less, they'd be losing their mind.
Mm-hmm.
But if inflation goes up by 20% over 5 years, they think it's natural. They think it's market forces. It's not. It's by design.
What is that noise?
Oh my goodness.
I'm hearing Pavarotti singing.
That's exactly what it is. That's Luciano Pavarotti singing Vincero. I will win.
Did we get it under 30 seconds so we don't have to pay an ASCAP license or something?
I muted it. It's some politician looking for money anyway.
So you mentioned that people are just kind of passive about this. Money does things to them, and we don't know anything about it. We just accept it. And isn't that weird that we accept the cost of living increasing for no good reason. Things aren't really getting more expensive if you think about it. The money just doesn't go as far. That's what's happening on a general level. So how do we get back to sound money? Gosh, I hope we didn't get lost. The power just flickered here. It says we're still recording, so I guess we will.
Still live to me.
Well, good. Battery backup worked. With it, the Lord is doing something to cause this to go weird today or something like that. We need to get back to solid money, to money that is just money, can't be inflated, can't be touched, can't be controlled. And so we want to go over that. What is that about? Well, money really is scarce, right? That's what makes it valuable.
It should be.
And what they're doing now, printing more and printing more and printing more, obviously decreases the level of scarcity. You could, let's say gold was the standard, and some people say it still is. It's got geographic limits. You know, where do I dig it up, and how much does it cost to get here? There's a lot of cost associated with gold. And then if the value goes way up, well, we'll just dig deeper and find more. So it's not necessarily a limited supply. It is, in the second characteristic of a sound money, it is durable. It's a money that holds its value over time, but it's not as easy to transport as a paper note in your wallet. Be a good thing if that paper note in your wallet still represented gold, but it doesn't. Third aspect of money is it needs to be divisible, right? If you could carry a gold bar with you and chip pieces of the gold bar off to pay for your goods and services, that would be cool, but it has to be easily divisible. I mean, if I cut a little bit more off the gold, then what happens? I've spent too much. Bitcoin is divisible to how many places?
8
how many places?
decimal places to the right of the decimal point. So each
Right.
0.000000, did I count right? 1 is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. It sounds complicated. The dollar does the same thing. 2 points to the right is 1/100th of a dollar. We call it a penny. A Satoshi is the penny of a Bitcoin, the smallest divisible unit.
Right. It's common to us. It's easy for us to think about it, but those people that are newer into Bitcoin or just seeking after Bitcoin, it's a quandary because we don't think of that many decimals, 8 decimals to the right. But since there's only going to ever be 21 million Bitcoin, you need those 8 decimals to the right in order to make a unit of account small enough so that it's useful way into the future. Fungibility is the fourth aspect of a hard money that we really want to think about. $1 equals $1, right? That's fungible. The dollar always equals a dollar, except the dollar inflates, so it's actually worth less spending power. 1 Satoshi is 1 Satoshi and will be forever, and the market will determine what 1 Satoshi is actually worth. It's interchangeable with another Satoshi, and it maintains its trust because it's resistant to counterfeiting. There's no entity that controls Bitcoin or the building block of Bitcoin, the Satoshi. You want to expand on that a little bit?
As far as what? Repeat your question. Sorry.
I was talking about the Satoshi being very fungible and very difficult to fake. Very difficult to inflate because a government controls it. I was really getting at there's no one involved. It's just a bunch of nodes, thousands and thousands and thousands of nodes all over the world verifying transactions. And I'm thinking you might have an easier way of saying it than my mind.
Well, not really, other than that, for thousands of years we accepted gold and silver and some other precious metals as reliable, sound money, and for the most part it is, but it can be counterfeited. Um, Silver, for example, there are ways of creating silver, but it takes an incredible amount of energy. So it's simply not worth it. No matter how much energy you spend, you cannot create a new Bitcoin. You can mine a new Bitcoin as a result of spending that energy in the mining rigs, but you will never create a new one. It will never exceed 21 million. And as you said, gold, if the value of gold is enough, they'll spend more money to dig it up.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very important point for those of you that are new to Bitcoin. It absolutely is going to be all in the market when it hits 21 million coins. The halving is kind of difficult to understand, but it happens every roughly 4 years. It actually happens every number of coins, roughly 4 years. And that means that the mining reward is cut in half. So in about 2 years, it's going to be what is it, 1.125
I think right now
or
it's
something?
3 1/8, so that would make it 1 9/16, I believe.
Yeah. So that's a big hit, to people say, well, why would I mine anymore? Well, the reality is that a Bitcoin is going to be worth more then. So the mining reward is commensurate.
And not only that, the miners, sorry to interrupt, but the miners also collect the transaction fees within that data block.
Right.
So the mining reward is not their only income. As the network grows and more people use it, there will be more value in the transaction fees.
Right, absolutely. And this is a good place to take a little bit of an aside. A lot of people that talk about Bitcoin talk about it not going to be useful because the transaction takes 10 minutes to complete. And I want you to think about that for a minute. Right now, if you use your debit card, you take it in, you buy some donuts with it, you give your debit card to the clerk, and the clerk runs it and gives it right back to you very fast. Do they actually have their money then? No. They trust the network to give them their money. So there's many layers of what happens to that MasterCard or Visa transaction. First of all, they charge a transaction fee to the vendor, usually 3.5%. 3.5%. Let that sink in. Then my bank says, yes, Steve has the money for those donuts. Let's go ahead and pay Greg's donut shop. So there's a transaction that occurs. Then on Greg's side, to put very simply, the transaction is received, and they say, okay, we'll put this in Greg's account. And so they give you a credit on your ledger in your account. So you really don't have the money. You have a promissory note to pay, and you have a promissory note to receive. Sorry, I just hit my mic. The money is not transferred. It's just two separate ledgers and an intermediary that says, I'm going to charge you 3.5% for that service I just provided to you. It isn't quick. It takes days for all of this to settle out.
And not
days.
Not to sound alarmist, but for those countries that we know of that have had just hyperinflation, where the value of the currency goes down overnight, these merchants that are dependent on their money, and by the way, I don't know why I need to have a donut shop instead of a health food store, but just curious. Yeah, if they're waiting 3 days, their money is gone. Not gone completely, but it's severely devalued.
A very inefficient system. And we don't want to dig into all the nuances of the system. What I want to do is compare it to this criticism of Bitcoin taking too long for a transaction. Now let's move over to the health food store that Greg runs. Probably his wife runs it,
Yeah,
not him.
no doubt.
So the same transaction occurs, and I pay with Bitcoin. I walk in with my everyday wallet. I say, yes, I want this brown dirt drink. Here's my $8. I press transfer. Greg looks at it and he sees, oh, yeah, I got a transfer coming. I'm going to have my Satoshis within 10 minutes. Here's your dirt drink. Have a good day. Literally, the value has transacted in 10 minutes. A lot faster than the current system.
Yeah.
However,
Steve, can I interrupt here for just a minute? This is probably a good time to talk about the Lightning Network. We've never really talked about it before.
Exactly where I was going.
Oh, okay. Well, can I run with it?
Please. Yeah, sure.
Okay, the Lightning Network is what's called a layer 2 Bitcoin network. It rides on top of each transaction or data block on the Bitcoin network. I've spent most of my life working in airports, so this makes sense to me as an illustration. If you've gone to airports a lot, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, you won't. A wide-body aircraft is an aircraft that has 2 aisles. It's a big airplane. When you load your baggage onto that aisle, it's not done one by one where you have 400 or 500 bags on that airplane. The bags are loaded into a container, and that container is loaded onto the airplane. That's the way the Lightning Network rides on top of the Bitcoin network. And transactions are handled instantaneously. I have a machine where you can buy Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, and 1 second later, it's in your wallet. Literally.
Yep. So the Lightning Network, as Greg said, is a layer 2. And what that means is that it's not modifying your Bitcoin holdings, except that it modifies the payment of the Bitcoin holdings. It sits on top of the Bitcoin network and just makes it a lot faster. So that argument that the Bitcoin network is inefficient and will never work as a means of trade is just wrong. There are technologies out there that are working today that work beautifully. Steak and Shake, as you know, accepts Bitcoin. And Steak and Shake is in business to make money, so it works for them. Sound money has all of these idiosyncrasies that we're talking about. The last one that we were talking about is resistance to counterfeiting. It is the only non-centralized sound money in existence. There is no central bank. There is no central authority. There is no government that can decree this has to happen with Bitcoin, or there's no inflation automatically. It's literally, like the example we used, peer-to-peer. I'm paying Greg for services rendered. Greg is getting a receipt. There's no bank involved charging me 3.5%. There's no delay. It is simply peer-to-peer. In addition, and don't lose this point that Greg made, the Lightning Network is a layer 2 that sits on top of Bitcoin that just makes it super fast, makes it transfer immediately. And then your Bitcoin remains as safe as it ever was. That's a very high level. If you want, let us know in the comments. We'll go deeper into the Lightning Network. So how does the dollar we use today stack up against all of these? Is a dollar fungible? Yeah, it is. $1 equals $1. The value of that dollar is suspect, but it equals $1. 1 cent equals 1 cent, although they're doing away with those. Is it resistant to counterfeiting? Nope.
They try, but
yeah, it's not common. We trust people. As you know, I've been going through a little toy reduction around here, selling things off, and I'm selling things on Facebook Marketplace, which is that's really the Star Wars bar, man. all kinds of people coming to buy stuff. You know, could you take it 10 cents on this thing I'm asking $50 for? Well, no, actually. But I'm saying cash only, because I only want cash. I don't want to deal with any of the electronic funds and all of that stuff because there's a record of it moving and I just don't want to. But I trust that these dollars or coins or whatever the people are handing me are real. And I have no idea. I've probably passed a fake dollar without knowing it. So the dollar is not resistant. It is fungible, as we talked about. It is portable, as we talked about. It is divisible, as we talked about. It is durable, kind of, but they can wear out and they can trade them for new ones. The big issue with the dollar is a central authority controls it. Hey, Greg, has there ever been a book written about it that we could maybe mention here?
Well, I'm a creature of habit, so I'm going to mention a book about Jekyll Island for the 312th time.
Please, please, please read the book, because it's just going to give you a basis to understand what we're talking about from, and you will be better for it. You will. And then there's a lot of other books we can recommend too. So we've kind of talked about the difference between dollars and sound money. And oh, by the way, if you're talking about some other form of currency, it has the same attributes as the dollar. It's just who's the fiat standing behind it. So now that we have an idea that Bitcoin might be real money and might be worth owning, you may be in a place where you're saying, it's too complicated. I don't know how I'm going to acquire it. And I'm going to turn this over to Greg now to talk about the Fold app. And I'll throw some images on the screen as he talks about it.
Yeah, so the Fold app at its basis is a debit card. Let me go ahead and show it to you. I have a little red dot on there that says tap it, don't insert it. I might talk about that later. It's just a reminder to me. It's a prepaid debit card. So I have to take US dollars, transfer it to the Fold card, and then I use that as a debit card. I use it any place that they will take Visa. But the nice thing about it is every time that I use it, I get rewarded in free Bitcoin, in Satoshis. Now, the Fold card, it is in the process of coming up with a credit card. That hasn't been released yet. I don't know the details about it. But the Fold card has a lot more benefits other than just being able to use it and earn Bitcoin. It's an easy place to buy it. You can buy it by putting US dollars in it, and they'll put it in your wallet on the Fold app, and I think they're insured to $1.5 million. You can do payroll deduction, have a portion or even all of your paycheck deposited into the Fold app. You can dollar cost average purchase. You can buy it every day, every week, every month, and dollar cost average very easily on the Fold app. They have gift cards for various merchants, and obviously there's a promotional aspect for those merchants. You mentioned Steak and Shake a few minutes ago. Steak and Shake, last time I looked, offered a 12.5% reward on purchases at Steak and Shake. There's places that you use every day. When I go to the hardware store at Home Depot or Lowe's, I buy a gift card in advance. And I think I earn 4% on that. That's not a fortune. If I spend $100, I get $4 worth of Bitcoin. But it adds up. So I'm always looking for these gift cards. And they have various promotions from time to time to promote an industry, maybe travel, maybe restaurants. It's always changing. So there's a lot of very valuable rewards with that.
Can I make a point here?
Yeah.
Can I jump? So In the circles I used to travel in, it's, folks who travel for a living, we constantly were amazed at people using their Marriott card or some other credit card and just being, oh, I'll pay for it, I'll expense it. Why are you doing that? Because I want my points. I really want my points. They were drunk on these points. And the points were worth nothing but being able to trade for certain things out of a catalog. Gotten a little more sophisticated since then. But if you just transition your thinking into using the Fold app, you're actually getting money back. And a sound money, a better money at that. I will admit that I've had a Fold card for, how long, Greg? A couple of years?
I think less than
But
that.
I'm always, yeah, I got to use Fold. I got to use Fold next time, because I won't stop and take the 3 minutes that it takes to load the prepaid debit card. So I'm learning as you folks are learning. It really is good. Are there any drawbacks to the Fold card?
You'll learn in time that some rewards are better than others. Like, for example, I've learned that grocery stores, they don't pay a reward on what they call non-signature transaction. I've learned that grocery stores, for example, are not a signature transaction. And there may be exceptions, but I generally don't get a Bitcoin reward when I go to the grocery store. So I use a different debit card. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not absolutely 100% foolproof, or it doesn't operate exactly as you expect it to operate all of the time. It's probably written into the fine print somewhere. And some of the other cons, just to make mention of them, and I don't think these are deal killers at all. Some people report that it takes a little processing time, 2 or 3 days or something like that.
Can I just show you mine?
Yeah.
Maximize it. More editing. Okay. There's my Fold card. I don't have a fortune into that. Okay. But I can so simply transfer some of that Bitcoin into cash, and it takes a matter of minutes. It doesn't take 3 days. There are different levels of using the Fold card. I think they call it a premium level or something like that. I pay $10 a month for that. But I've done the math, I've added it up, and the added rewards I get as a result of that level, it's worthwhile for me because my rewards are greater. And that's based on the value of today's Bitcoin. I believe tomorrow's Bitcoin is going to be worth a lot more.
Yeah. Well, so do we all. And could we be wrong? Sure. What's the probability that we're wrong? 1 in 80 bajillion?
That's all conjecture, but let's just say that the people that for a decade or more who've been trying to scare us away from it are now buying it as quickly as they can.
Yeah, and probably about time to say this is not financial advice. We're not financial planners. Right. This is our opinion. And you can do with it what you wish.
And Steve, just one other fun thing that I hadn't mentioned, and that's called the daily spin. Every day I get up, and they show me this little wheel, and I hit spin, and I got 15 Satoshis today.
Oh, man.
Claim the rewards.
I got 1 yesterday.
No, you didn't. 5 is the minimum.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah. All right.
I was just looking at mine. Pardon me. So, yeah, it's a great idea. It's easy to use. I would say, and I may feel differently than Greg does on this, Fold is for casual users. I mean, it's fun, it's passive, it can make you Bitcoin. It can be a utility wallet, but please don't make this your final wallet. You still need to be air gapped. You need to do all the fun things you need to do to protect your Bitcoin.
Do most people keep all their funds in their checking account? No. You can use the Fold account as a checking account. You can pay your bills with it and get Bitcoin rewards. But don't put your life savings into it.
Yeah. So on balance, it's for everyday use. It's not for high volume use. All right, let's review quickly. Before I do, let me do the obligatory commercial. We have a reason for doing this. We believe there are a lot of people like us that are our age or maybe a little bit younger who didn't grow up digitally, who didn't grow up knowing what Bitcoin is, and are kind of late into getting started. So we want to do basics. If you should have any questions, or you just want to talk to us, you want to ask our opinion on something, send us a note, send us something in the chat. We'll be happy to respond to you. The way you can support us is go to hodlandtees.com. Greg and I are each wearing t-shirts sold at hodlandtees.com. We also have caps. We have a lot of resources on hodlandtees.org or .com, either one works. We have articles, we have blogs, we have our favorite Bitcoin experts doing writings there on the website. And we have access to some of our favorite videos, things like What is the Problem? Maybe you've seen that one. If you haven't, go over there and check it out. Also at the top, there's a live Bitcoin price. You can see what Bitcoin is doing today. Not so you can sell your Bitcoin, but so that you can take advantage of today's price and buy more. That's enough of a commercial. Let's review quickly what we did today. There is a conclusion, and that is that sound money is really where you should be. Honest money is where you should be. Can't be debased by a committee decision at 2 a.m. and then you wake up tomorrow morning and your money's worth less. Bitcoin passes every one of those sound money tests and passes the ones that fiat money absolutely fails. And that's not hype. That's arithmetic, that's math, and that's history. Transitioning to how to acquire Bitcoin, get started with Fold, if nothing else. It's small, it's fun, it's a low stakes way to get your feet wet using a prepaid debit card, and you can understand what you're getting into. I'm going to use the word stewardship. It means being clear-eyed. It means knowing exactly what your money's doing, know what its limits are, know what it's used for. You may want to look into the Lightning Network. We'll probably cover that after the next podcast. If you're still figuring this out, that's exactly where you're supposed to be. That's why you're watching this. By the way, so are we. We learn things every day. There's a Bitcoin fork being proposed that we'll begin to dig into next week. If you know people who need to think differently about money, feel free to share this with us. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watch it on YouTube at HODLBoomer. See us at hodlandtees.org. Stack sats. Wear the message. We love you.
Hey, Steve.
See ya.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
Yeah, take this or leave this. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticed a lot more merchants are charging 3% for using a bank card, whether it's a debit card or a credit card. I've learned that some of them, they just charge it on credit cards and not debits. The point is, the inefficiencies of the system are becoming more and more apparent to a lot more people. And we talked a little bit about the Fold card. Again, be discriminating. If I'm going to pay 3% for using a debit card and get 1.5% in rewards, that's not very smart. If, on the other hand, I have the choice of 2 debit cards and I'm going to pay that 3% anyway, I'm going to use the Fold card. My point is not promoting the Fold card so much. My point is that these inconsistencies and inefficiencies, merchants are trying to stay on top of it and stay solvent.
You know, we're going to extend this episode just a little bit because I'll speak to this. You know, I wrote the website, hodlandtees.org. You know that I've been in the t-shirt business for a while. When I started this website, I had the vision of simply charging Bitcoin, not charging fiat dollars at all. And I worked through a couple of people who run websites, I guess I can say it, Shopify, I am no longer a Shopify site. It is so hard for a merchant to set up a website and not charge fiat dollars. What is easy-ish is also allowing people to pay with Bitcoin. And we do that. If you pay with Bitcoin, you get an automatic discount. I don't get hit with any fees. I literally have to run my node. I'm not going to get into a lot of technical jargon here, but I have a Bitcoin only node, and I have to pay to maintain that. But other than that, there's absolutely no fee, none. You just pay with Bitcoin, you earn a discount. That simple. The merchants that are trying to remain on fiat only, they're paying through the nose. You're paying at least a 3.5% transaction fee, and there are more there too. So we would appreciate it if you would check us out and see what it works like. And if you want to buy some merch, buy some merch. I'll leave it there. So we'll say bye now. How's that? We love you.
Stay out from under the hailstones.
Yeah, and I guess it quit raining. Maybe it put the fires out. All right, we love you. Stay humble, stack sats. We'll see you next time.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.